Hey folks, I'd like to talk a little bit about handling some of the more complicated vector shapes as you're completing these logos. So let me share my screen. And I've got Malia's project here. And as you can see here, there's a lot of individual shapes that will represent closed paths. And some of these things can be layered beneath other shapes so that you don't have to go through the complex process of trying to create a sharp line between them. So let me show you a little bit about what I'm talking about here. So I might start on the pieces that we're going to go behind, and that would be these sort of scallop shaped pieces here. And you can just essentially follow your sketching and be generous with your path line here. You'll want to make sure that this piece up here that you're going to build afterwards will cover all of the edges so that you don't have to worry about how these two different shapes meet up. So I'm going to just go ahead and kind of make sure that I'm and then I'm going to go over because I'm going to actually build the pearl up on top. And then you always want to get back to your start point. So you get that little circle that shows up next to the pen. That means you're closing that shape. Let me try another one here. I'm going to try the one next to it. And remember that you're clicking, holding, and dragging to create the path that will have handles on both sides and represents a curved shape. I'm just going to go a little bit out here. It really doesn't matter. In fact, now that I think about it, I don't need to spend any time on this curve because I'm going to actually be building the curve through the shape that sits on top. So you can literally just kind of make that hidden. And then I'm going to overlap these because that's the same thing here. I'm going to tuck this one below the other one. And I know this sounds a little bit confusing at this point because you're thinking, what's going on here, right? And let me build one more here so I have at least three before I actually start on the other shape. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is you really only need to finesse one side of these scallops. And you don't need to do the top because, like I said, you're going to tuck these into each other or underneath each other. Now let me show you if I can what I've built. So I built these three here. And you'll go to your color here over here. I'm going to make sure I don't have a stroke color, and then I'm going to choose a color from my library. It looks like my swatch library here is pretty limited. Right. And then notice it just creates one huge blob, and that's because you've chosen three shapes that are all the same color. So you're going to have to make sure that you do choose different colors, even if they're just ever so slightly different. And then let me try, and then let me create the shape that is going to lay on top. And that one is this one here. And notice I'm doing a combination of curved and sharp edges. And so as I go down into the shell. This is where you're going to want this shape to actually lie above. Think about your layers, the images that you've already created. Of course, I am hiding the image below because I've already changed these colors, so that's not very helpful. Okay. And let me just change all these to and this one's a little bit off because it needs to actually, these two actually need to be behind. So go to layer and arrange and say move to back. And notice down here, I still need to build that pearl. So I can build that pearl. You could use the shape building tool to create a circle, or you could just do it by hand. I would craft all of these by hand. And then this is going to be probably a shape that's going to go over. So you can just continue that pearl. And that has no color, but it's going to have a fill. Right. And then, so see how it hides these other elements? That's kind of the trick there. You might need to turn off your layer here, or you can actually double click on this. Let's see if you can do that. And turn the opacity down. So that's the trick, is just go to the layers panel, click on the layer and turn the opacity temporarily down so you can still see your sketch underneath. And then that way you could keep drawing on top. That's how you build this out. So I would build these other sort of scallop shapes here, and then build this lip on top, right, which is one single shape. And you're going to want to, let's see, to make this a little bit more interesting, you're going to want to add some highlight and shadow to these as well.